She didn't even spend any time training and like wings, like if you grow wings out of your back, I can imagine that can be a bit of an imbalance thing.
Ooh.
Like how can you
Mm-hmm.
even stand? And you have to have like really strong muscle. I mean, here I am talking like I know how it is to have wings. People, don't worry, I'm not an angel
What
or
are
a
you not
vampire.
telling
Yeah,
us,
maybe I
Nina?
am. Yeah, exactly. What if I
Exposing
am?
yourself
You
here.
don't know. Okay, guys, Nina here,
Hey everyone, I'm Anya.
and welcome to our podcast. So, today we'll be discussing the second, The Serpent and the Wings of Night book because I don't remember the actual name of the second book. What's it named?
Oh my god. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, but I wouldn't blame you. There's something about romantasy and gigantic titles that are basically like a whole sentence. I don't know why they do that, but
I don't know either. We can just call it
yeah.
Neaxia 2 or The Serpent 2, right? And also, there was a novella in between that we're going to be discussing today, too, which is The Six Scorched Roses. So, obviously, this is
Hmm.
a spoiler warning for all of these three books. And yeah, let's just begin. I guess let's just start with The Six Scorched Roses novella. What did you think about the novella, Anya? How did you like the characters, impressions?
Yeah, oh my god. I loved the novella. I thought that it was the best writing by Carissa Broadbent that I've read so far. I was so relieved that I enjoyed this story, because in the last episode I was a bit nervous because I wasn't like as fully connecting with her writing and with those characters as I would have liked. So I was so happy to go into the novella and to be enjoying it immediately, to be thinking that this writing is actually so great. The writing like really pulled me in this one. I thought all the poetic elements were so beautiful. The voice of the main character was so good. I could immediately understand her. I love her. By the way, I love Lilith. She is just such a good protagonist, so different from the kind of protagonist we usually get in those stories. I don't know, she feels more real, she feels more relatable and brings something different to this story. We get a little bit more of breadcrumbs of world building, thank God. Oh my god, that's what I was missing. So I enjoyed it a lot overall. Like the structure was great too, with the roses and how we got the exposition about the backstory and what it all meant. Like I just think it was a really well written, cool novella. I enjoyed my time reading it.
Same. I love the novella so much. As I was reading these books, I've read them a few months ago, and when the first book ended, I was really excited to just jump on to the second book, to just find out what's going
Yeah.
on with the main characters. So the novella was kind of like, ugh, do I have to? I just don't wanna. But once I started reading it, it really positively surprised me. It was so good. And yeah, like you said, Lilith, she's like more relatable. She's just like a normal girl. She doesn't have any kind of
Hmm.
special ability. She's not a fighter, but she's just really intelligent. And she's pretty much a scientist, which I really liked. She's so different. And I loved how, she was so, in a way, fearless, when she walked into Vale's house
Hmm.
and she just knew what she had to do. She knew that there's no other choice basically left. Like everyone is dying
Yeah.
essentially. Like she has to do something. And yeah, I loved her bravery, and the relationship between Vale and her was really good. I really liked it. Just an amazing book overall. Did you expect that basically the reason that the situation in her hometown is the way it is because her dad saved her life?
No, I didn't expect that the deal involved, yeah, Lilith's illness. I did not expect that. I thought that, yeah, he probably wanted, I don't know, more food, better crops, something, and it all just like went wrong. But like, I didn't expect that it would be about Lilith. So that's what I was saying. I thought the setup was good and it went in a way that I wasn't expecting, but still made sense. So sort of plot twist that I really enjoy.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, it makes logical sense. Like Lilith, she was sickly
Hmm.
her entire life. So it would make so much sense to just for us to think, okay, yeah, of course, he probably wanted to save his daughter. But Lilith, she was like an unreliable narrator in such a way that she convinced me to believe that her dad was
Yeah.
just like basically an asshole who wanted his farm to succeed. You know, she was so
Hmm.
convinced of it, so 100%, so sure of it, that I ended up being sure of it too. You know, I didn't even think, oh no, he actually wanted to save her. Like, which is something that I would normally think
Yeah.
because I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I have a weak spot for parents, and still I didn't think of it.
Hmm.
So I feel like Carissa really did a good job of basically manipulating us
Yes,
in that way.
totally. It was exciting to get a character like that for me.
Yeah, same. And I like the fact that now she's a vampire because I feel like she's such a good
Hmm.
vampire. I feel like she was meant to be a vampire. You know, she always felt like she didn't belong. And now, I don't know, I feel like being a vampire is gonna maybe change that a little bit, I guess, because, you know, she's gonna be with Vale and they're married now. And yeah,
True. I mean, that's a part that I was not surprised by, but also I didn't mind it at all. Like,
same,
just the
yeah.
way she was thinking, how her life is limited, that was always following her around, but she wants to learn so much about the world. She wants to see so much. She's so curious about everything. And, like, I can just see that she would be, yeah, like, perfect as a vampire. So
Exactly.
it would completely make sense for her story to go that way, so I was happy to see it. I enjoyed the novella a lot, and I'm kind of sad that they weren't as prominent, Vale and Lilith, in the second book because I enjoyed them as characters so much. So I don't know. I kind of actually wish that I have read the novella after I read the second book because as a standalone, I feel like this novella is so great, but within the context of the story, you don't actually need to know all of that information to enjoy book two. And maybe it would be even better to not know it because in book two, there is so much from Rain's perspective doubt about whether, Vale is as good and as in love with her as he seemed to be. And I was like, well, fuck yeah, he is. Like, I've read the story, so it wasn't like intriguing to me to find out whether Ring's right or whether Vale is actually as in love with her, whether Lilith really wants to be here because I had the answers. So actually, it would be better for me to read it after because then I would actually have this intrigue to find out more. You
That's
know.
true. That's true. I didn't mind it just because like it worked for me in this way as well. You know, the fact that I
Hmm.
already knew that he was in love with her because I knew. So I was just like smiling all the time and I was just like, Rain, you fool, you don't know Vale at all and stuff. But a part of me was also annoyed at him because I was like, leave Vale alone. You know, he really loves her. But it was so interesting because you couldn't blame Rain either for thinking the way he did. I mean, the things that Rain went through when he was in that vampire court, essentially a slave, he was like raped and shit. And
Hmm.
Vale was there and he didn't participate, but he also didn't do anything. So it makes sense for Rain to also don't believe him and trust him. And I liked how Rain approached Lilith and he was like, if you're not here willingly, just let me know. You can leave whenever you want. You know, you're not trapped here. And I really appreciated that
Hmm.
he gave her that kind of like a freedom. But Lilith was like so confused because she's so socially awkward. So she was just like,
Yeah.
why are you even talking to me? What's going on? Like, what is this? It was so funny because she was like, why would I ever want to leave Vale? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. So,
Oh my
so it was
gosh.
kind of cute and funny for me.
No, she was so relatable. I can totally picture some of myself in the way Lilith is, Is this person like making fun of me right now? Is that what this face means? Or is that just like actually like normal? Like I feel that sometimes, so I could kind of relate to her being a bit more sciencey, a bit more not understanding human communication. I felt like was so cool to see. Totally. And yeah, I do not blame Rain for his reactions, for his doubts. For someone in his position, that is absolutely understandable the way he's thinking. And I would be more present in his point of view, or I don't know how to say it, if I didn't have all of this information that I already had. Because it's like, it's more interesting when you don't have all the answers beforehand. So that's why, if I were to recommend this series to someone, I would say read novella afterwards, because you just get like little glimpses and then you find out more as a backstory.
I get that, yeah. And just
Hmm.
another thing about Lilith, yeah, like you said, I really enjoyed reading her perspective whenever she was like reading other people and she was just like guessing and trying to understand what they meant by things. And it was so interesting for me because I'm not like that. I'm not socially awkward. So it was just so cool to see that. And I was just like, sometimes I felt like secondhand embarrassment for her because I was like, oh, Lilith, you poor girl. But so, like, so cute, you know, I really liked
Oh
her
my gosh.
and I get like
Just
social
something in you
awkwardness
to
more
read
now.
you.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand it now. And just like being in her head and her like literally trying to read the person's face and like what does that gesture mean? You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, it was hilarious for me.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't relate. You're too cool for that. That's good. Yeah.
And
Um,
just one more thing about the novella that by the way was really kind of hard for me to read, you know, her like sister's sickness, the way it was
mhm.
described, she was basically falling apart. She was like leaving a trail of ashes after her, like her skin was
Yeah.
peeling off, or the way it was described was just so you know. And I just really felt for Lilith. This was also so interesting because, you know, her sister, she was more, I guess, in touch with her emotions, more like not as awkward. So she just wanted to
Mhm.
feel love and for Lilith to be present. But the way Lilith showed her love was by doing what she did, by trying to cure her and save her like that. So it was
Yes.
also really interesting to see that because Lilith was aware of what her sister wanted, but she just couldn't really relate to that. She just knew that she had to save her, and that was her, you know, mission, and she really did it no matter what. She didn't feel like, oh no, I should probably just spend my time with her while she's dying. Like, because her mission was to not let her die. You know, that was like not even a possibility for her. And she really did everything she could to save her. And she ended up saving her. And that was amazing.
Exactly. And then at the end, I don't remember the exact quote, but Mina basically said that she always understood it, that she always got it, that this
Yeah.
was, Lilith showing her love. And that also, throughout reading it, I was sad for Lilith because obviously she's doing all of it out of love, but you never like fully understood whether her sister understands it, whether people around it understand it, and to get that confirmation that yeah, they all love her and they all get her and they're all grateful to her. That was lovely. And yeah, she's just such a scientist. She's so practical. I don't know, she's a logical thinker, which is something I really enjoyed. But this is also the one thing I would criticize the novella for a little bit. And it is part of the problem that I have with writing in this series as a whole. I would have enjoyed a little bit more details into the world building and into the storytelling, because let me just give you an example of what I mean right now. So here she's, for example, thinking he had found a crucial missing piece. The text was detailing experiments done on vampire blood in trials. Yet despite their age, the figures answered so many of the questions I had been grappling with about how to effectively distill vampire blood into something different. What are the questions? What is the text? What is the missing piece? What experiments are you doing? What is it about the vampire blood? Like, it's the thing. She's just like looking at the vampire blood, thinking, "Ooh, this looks cool," and then like, "I'm gonna go do some science now." I'm doing the science. Science is very sciencey. It is sciencing. Oh, look, I did it. I cured it. I did the thing. What is it? What's the what? I'm nosy. I want details. I want to know how magic works in this world. I want to know how science works in this world. I want to know what you did. And it's like, we just don't get depth into the understanding the mechanics of this world. And that's the kind of thing I'm a nosy bitch about in fantasy. This is why I'm reading fantasies. Give me the details. Okay.
I get that. Yeah, I know that you're like that. But yeah, for me, for example, I'm the other way around. I actually enjoy the fact that we didn't go into details, because if I had to read details about how she does these experiments and the science behind it, I would be bored. I wouldn't want to know. I would just want it to get on with the plot line, with the characters. I would just want her to get back to Vale, to do some interesting shit together, to talk, to get to know each other. I wouldn't want pages like dedicated to how these experiments of her work. So I didn't really mind it, and I was actually happy to get like a character that is a scientist, but without the boring parts of the actual science.
Oh my god. Okay. I mean, totally see why it would be totally boring if it went into complete textbook mode. Like, for example, this was Babel by R.F. Kuang. You really felt like you were reading a science book at times. And, like, I enjoyed it, but I could see how, if you don't care about the subject, you would be bored as fuck. So, I would just enjoy, like, just details. If you say that this answers your question, just tell me what question it is. That would be interesting, but you don't need to like write a dissertation. So that's what I felt was a bit like readers will figure it out. And I don't enjoy that. Enjoy, author actually putting a bit more of context and detail into those sort of details. Okay, yeah.
Okay, okay, makes sense. But yeah, let's
Mm-hmm.
just skip now to Niexia 2, to Rain and Araya. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, by the way, I fucking love the interludes in the second book again. I really liked the way they're written. I like, how now we got the perspective of Rain, but it was like the king was that and that. So the first time we got the king, I was like, is, Vincent back? Are we going to get,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of flashbacks from him? And then no, it was actually Rain. And when we had the writing in the first book about how the little girl is gonna be like the king's ruination, here we had the same thing, but it was with Rain. The girl he loved was gonna be like responsible for his death the second time, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found that to be so poetic and so beautiful. And I know you couldn't like relate to the writing, but I love the writing in this book so much. I don't know, the quotes in it are so beautiful. And I know I'm definitely gonna read this in a few years or something, when I forget a little bit more about the plot and everything, and I just can't wait for that to happen.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I do want to give a little update about my thoughts on the writing style. Like I said, I thought that novella was written beautifully. I have no problems with the writing style in it whatsoever. Actually, there was a little tiny moment where Lilith was thinking, I was thinking about all the bad words that I don't want to say, and that felt like such a call out because in the previous episode I was like, there's too many fuck, shit, fuck in every second, and this was like, Broadbent knows what she's doing. She's like, okay, and in this book, I'm giving you nothing to all of you idiots who complain. So I enjoyed that. So the choices she's making in the writing in all of those characters' voices are definitely deliberate. And yeah, I like Rain's point of view. I love the interludes in the previous book. I also enjoyed the interludes the most. So having read more of her writing, I think my problem actually was not her writing style as a whole. I think it is Oraya's voice that threw me off the most. And that's like the only point of view we got in the previous book. And that's why, I was feeling the things I was feeling. So I think those are all deliberate choices to show the way this character thinks, the way she interacts with the world, and I guess I just don't like. And I hate that. I really would love to love Oraya and her voice more, but just something about it sometimes throws me out. Sometimes it feels too casual for the setting and for the grand plot lines that we're in, and that's something that will absolutely not be a problem for everybody. So,
Okay, I get that, and I'm glad that you kind of, distinguished the two. That that it's not
mhm,
about the actual writing, but more just about how Oraya's voice doesn't kind of fit for you in the whole story, and that makes
kinda.
sense. That's actually very logical. Like I said, I wasn't that bugged by it. I didn't focus that much on it, but the way you describe it, of course, like it would throw you off. I get that. I can see that.
I can read a line from the interludes that I thought was so cool.
Hmm.
No greater horrors than those you choose. No worse fate than the one you beg for. That was so good.
Oh my
So
god.
she can do a very good line.
So good. I mean, I have a lot of quotes to read again, so I'll
Mhm.
probably just like throw them in sometimes, even when they're uncalled for. Like right now, for example, I'm just gonna do it, even if it doesn't fit what we're talking about right now at all, but I don't care.
Mhm.
I'm already more afraid than I have ever been. Afraid of you and what you could do to me. Afraid of the world that could kill you so easily. Afraid of myself, gifted with another fragile heart that I know I cannot keep. But, my little serpent, it is the most wonderful fear. Every minute with you is, even if I already regret all the mistakes I know I will make.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I mean, this line, even like if I already regret all the mistakes I know I will make. I'm not a parent, but I feel like if you're a
Mhm.
parent, you can really relate to this line. Because as a parent, you know you'll make mistakes. And I feel like a lot of new parents, they're afraid of raising a kid in a world that is, essentially a pretty scary place. And they're aware that they're going
Yeah.
to be the child's entire world. And everything that they do will affect the kid. Everything that they do will have some kind of a mental consequence to the child. So they're aware that they're going to make mistakes, but yet they have to do it anyway because, like, they're it for the kid, right? So
Yeah.
I thought this was such a beautiful line, and I feel like if I was a mom, like it already affected me, but if I had a child, I feel like I would be like, oh my gosh, yes, that's so true. So beautiful.
Mhm.
And like, I just loved so much how, Vincent is dead, but essentially he stayed with Oraya. He was still there in the back of her head. She still had like these conversations with him. He still had a really important role to play in the book. And we also found out a lot of like other things about him, which I really liked, that we understood him a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're a listener of this podcast, you know that we try to go in order and then never succeed at that. So excuse us or enjoy it, whatever. But yeah, I really appreciated that Vincent apologized to Oraya at the
Yeah.
end and apologized like genuinely. He understands that he has done some pretty big fuck ups, and his apology for those fuck ups seem like he is actually like sorrowful, actually regretful, and that like yeah, like he's aware of it and really wants to let his daughter know that. And I appreciate that so much because, yeah, parents are just people. We all fuck up. I mean, most parents don't fuck up to the level that Vincent fucks up. But, nobody's perfect. And it's not really about getting it right, but about like having this balls, I guess, to actually admit that as a parent, I actually fucked up at times and I'm sorry and I wish it was better. Like, if all parents were just able to recognize that, I feel like that would be just such a big change because, yeah, like so often people, I mean, not even only parents, but just like people aren't able to admit that they made even a mistake and they're just like, nope, nope, I didn't do it. And if I did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was that bad, well, it's your fault that you're upset or something. And like, just to see that even this deeply fucked up character was able to say, no, I fucked up and I'm sorry. Like, that meant a lot. I thought that that was really good. Yet at the same time, I also don't blame Oraya for not accepting that apology or like accepting it, but still understanding that that wasn't enough. And the things that he fucked up, they will still be affecting her. And she doesn't have to give him that forgiveness and that she can still move on without giving that forgiveness. I feel like that's powerful too. Like,
Yeah.
I just enjoyed both point of views in that moment. But I will say I was a bit confused by Vincent in this book, essentially, because we've seen him so much in Araya's head and he was like answering her questions and almost like having conversations with her that like pertained to whatever was happening in this scene in that moment, that I was like confused, like, is this just like her speaking to herself in her mind, or is he actually like a ghost somewhere talking to her? Then later we did find out that he like left parts of his soul in this like magic that wasn't super well explained. So maybe it was him speaking in this sword or what? I mean, at the end in this labyrinth cave, whatever, that was him speaking, right? So was it him speaking that the whole time, or was something just Oraya's subconscious, or is it meant to be like that and we're meant to be questioning that? Maybe that's it. So I'm like, after this book ended, I'm still left with those questions, and maybe that's the point. Maybe I should be left with those questions. But yeah, I have been confused about it.
Yeah, I feel like Vincent is a really beloved character. I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
people in the fandom, really liked him, as a character. And I think that the author, she really also really wanted him to stay. So I think that it is completely possible that it is left open to interpretation, the way you interpret it, whether
Hmm.
he is actually there, like somehow present as a ghost, or just a part of her subconsciousness. And honestly, the way I interpreted it was that when he was talking in her head, it was her subconscious. But the thing is that for a while, because of the way they were speaking in her mind, I was like, well, fuck, what if it is actually him, because the conversations were
Hmm.
just so, so lengthy and stuff and deep. But then again, I just think that she knew Vincent so well that she could really just
Yeah,
imagine exactly what he would say. And it would make sense that her subconscious would sound like him, because he was literally in her entire life like whispering things in her ear, and
totally.
manipulating her in what way she should think and what she should feel and how she should act.
Hmm.
So I think this makes really a lot of sense. But yeah, in regards to the cave scene, I think that was him. That part wasn't well explained, like how he left part of his essence behind. I was also annoyed by that, because at the end I was just like, what is this even? What was the point of it or whatever? But I just decided to not overthink it. But yes, I agree with you there. I think, yeah, he just left like a part of his essence, his memories there. So that was actually like him speaking to her. So I like that part. I like the fact that they got some kind of a closure. I was so happy
Hmm.
for that, because that's something that I really missed in the last book. He pretty much just died. The last thing he told her was that he loved her and that he never like regretted her. And she never even got the chance to tell him she loved him. And I think that
Yeah,
here she did tell him, right? She did tell him, I love you.
she did. So she had that chance, and yeah, I'm choosing to believe that this was actually Vincent. So he
Exactly.
did get to hear this,
Same,
right?
same. And I really loved, seeing his story with her mom unfold. Like she
Hmm.
understood at this point that he actually loved her mom. Again, the love was conditional, just like everything. He couldn't love the part of her mom that was human. He just like couldn't
Yeah.
deal with that or relate to that at all. To him, humans were just
Hmm.
weak creatures that were food. And that was just how he was programmed and essentially. But still, it was kind of cute that Rhea essentially was a product of love, even if it was a messed up
Yeah.
love. So I like that. I like the fact that we got their story. It was so cute, to me, honestly. Ugh. And the part that you mentioned, that like, yeah, you can love someone and you can like move on without forgiving them. I really get that. I feel like a lot of the times in our culture, and every time I read something online, it's like you have to forgive to be able to move on. And I feel like this concept
Yeah.
is romanticized very heavily. And I don't agree with it at all. I feel like you can still not
Mhm.
forgive someone, you can still kind of resent them and still be completely perfectly fine moving on and being happy. Like you're just kind of somehow aware that what they did to you will always stay with you, and you don't appreciate that. And it's fine if you don't. It's fine if you're just like, okay, I'm not angry at you as much. I still care for you, but what you did to me, that will always stay with me and I'll never forgive that. And it's fine. And you can be completely fine. It doesn't mean that you're like in such pain still. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't equal that, right? And I hate how our
Yeah.
society romanticizes this, and how many quotes there are about this on Instagram and everywhere. And I'm like, the fuck? I won't forgive and I won't forget and I'm completely fine. you know?
Exactly. Like you don't just like wake up every day and think like, "Ooh, this person did me wrong. How could they?" No, but it doesn't mean you have to be the bigger person and like completely give them that forgiveness. Like that's you don't need that. You can move on without that closure. Yeah, basically, yeah, I agree. with what you said.
Exactly. I mean, I believe there are probably people who do need to do that. Maybe, they're just programmed
Hmm.
that way. But, like, personally, I'm not. And
Hmm.
I don't appreciate how everything is so generalized, because, like, we're different. People are different and we work differently, and that's fine. So I appreciate that so
Yeah.
much.
And all the situations are different. Sometimes you can just, give that forgiveness and give that understanding. And sometimes that just is not what makes sense to you. Sometimes that's not what you need to actually feel at peace and feel like you can get on with your life. So that just really depends. And there's no one right way to do it. And the way that Araya did it is just as fine, I think.
Exactly. Can you just, like, by the way, remind me of how Vincent and her mom met? Because I kind of forgot, like, how exactly it happened.
So we find out in this book that vampire lords, kings who've ever sometimes keep seers, and seers are like humans who work for different deities. We still don't know the names of all those deities and what they do, but it's fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah. So they have different magic, they can see into the future, do all of those different things. So Vincent basically employed her mom to work with him in his castle because he wanted to get that old dead god body parts to do something with them, which would be so good to get some sort of foreshadowing for that in book one and not just get this info dumped in book two. But this is what they were working on basically because this alt dead god would be like super mega powerful and give them I don't know what with blood and teeth and all of that stuff, and somehow using this powers that her mom had would like help him get to understand how to use it and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing the story about them. Yeah, I forgot a little bit because I read it a few months ago. But yeah,
Hmm.
I love that so much. Okay, since we're discussing Vincent, let's just, like, continue discussing their relationship before we can move on to the other aspects of the book. So, yeah, I also really liked this quote that Misha gave to Oraya when, like, they reunited and stuff. I really liked how Oraya, she was, like, not feeling good, and Misha could see it and told her that it's fine to not be fine, because I feel like no one ever said that to Oraya. She was always just supposed to stay strong and put on a brave face. And when she was, like, wondering what her dad, what his problem was, Misha, like, told her this. Maybe the others don't let you see the shards. Maybe they don't show you the things they mourn. Doesn't mean it's not there. Doesn't mean they don't feel it. And your father, her face went serious now, fiery fierce. Her hand fell to mine, clutching tight. Your father, Oraya, felt all those things too. He was just as broken as the rest of us, and he was so determined not to acknowledge it that he flayed you with those sharp edges and then berated you for having skin instead of steel.
Fuck. Yeah.
I mean,
That's so good.
for having skin instead of steel? Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. Like, how good is this writing, Anya? Like, I am obsessed. This is, like, the best. I don't know. I've never. This is such good writing to me. I'm obsessed with it.
Hmm. And it's such a good way of putting that sentiment that yes, obviously Vincent has done all of those things that he's done because he's hurting and he's in pain and he's been through trauma in that fucking fucked up vampire society that there's no other way to succeed and be king other than becoming this cruel person and going through all of this trauma, and that's real and that's tragic, and yet he still hurt her and he still berated her for having skin instead of steel. That's still also real, and that's not excused by all the shit that he's been through. And
Yeah.
yeah, the way that Misha put it is so good because it's clear that she has empathy for Vincent, and yet she is so supportive of Oraya
Oh my
and she's
gosh.
not letting any of it slide, and that's just very good for me.
So good, so good. And, like,
Hmm.
another one here, all of it was true at once, that he had saved me, that he had crippled me, his selfishness and his selflessness, that he had tried, that he had failed, and that he had loved me anyway. And I would carry all of that forever for the rest of my life, and he would still be dead. I mean,
Fuck.
that's exactly what we were
Yes.
talking about before. She would still carry this for the rest of her life, like both of these parts, and it's okay if she doesn't let that go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so much and it's so hard. From Araya's perspective, I completely understand grappling with that,
Mm,
right? For me, as a reader, like looking at it from just a third point of view, I think that for me, Vincent did more fuck ups than good things.
mhm,
And
mhm.
overall, like I'm not on the side who's like Vincent did nothing wrong. We love him. I think as a character he is fantastic, but as a person, just like from my personal perspective, I don't forgive him for the shit that he's done. I think that he caused so much damage and trauma to Oraya that I could not fully forgive him. I mean, one of the things that's just like true for me in all of those fantasy books, trying to save somebody by keeping their powers or their magic a secret from them is always such a red flag for me, such a pet peeve for me. I just think that this is just like one of the most stupidest things you can even do. Like, you are not helping someone by making them hide themselves or even keeping parts of themselves from themselves. Like, there's only one way this can end, and it's not with them being protected. You know what I mean? At the end, the truth will come out, and at the end, they will not be able to be as powerful as they could have been if you just let them know shit,
But I
you
think I
know?
think Vincent was aware of this. I think like this was the selfish part of
Hmm.
him because he wasn't doing that to
Yeah.
protect Araya. He was more doing it to protect himself. Because like he was afraid of Araya. He basically killed his entire family to become king. So in his head he was probably like, what's stopping her from doing the same once she realizes that she's actually really powerful? So that was more about like him, I think. And also, there was this
Hmm.
quote when Araya realized that she has wings and she remembered something that Vincent had once told her. I think she asked him why he never took her flying with him, and he said that he didn't want her to believe that she could fly too and start like jumping off of roofs all of a sudden. He
Yeah.
knew all
Yeah.
along that she had wings, but he didn't say anything. He
Mhm.
just wanted her to live in the belief that she has no power so that when the time came and when she became his equal, she would think that she
Yeah.
got all of these powers from Neaxia, that they weren't there all along. And like that, they would be equals and they would be connected, so she could never betray him and he would finally be able to love her for her, finally. But like that's,
Jesus, that's even sadder.
yeah, it is. It is. And I mean,
Oh,
this is what Oraya also like said in one part. Maybe he loved her in a way, but he could never love her for what she really was. Loving everything in her but her humanity wasn't loving her at all. And like here, he'd raised me to look at the bars of my cage and call them trees.
yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I cannot justify everything bad that he's done to her, even knowing that at
No, I
the end,
can't
yeah,
either.
yeah. I just read some Goodreads reviews that were totally like Vincent did nothing wrong and I love him and Oriah should have forgiven him immediately. And I'm like, girl, are you serious? So, some people disagree with us.
I mean, I have a weak spot for
Hmm.
Vincent too, just because he's such a tragic character
Yes.
to me. And I always have a weak spot for tragic characters. Even like when they do bad shit, I'm still like, I still kind of think about the potential. I still feel like, well, what would have been if he was just raised like in a society that wasn't so fucked up?
Yes.
Because the fact that he was living in a world like this and he still managed to care for her like that. That I know that sounds like that's the bare minimum in our world, but in their world that's a really big deal. So I just kind of look at the potential and I'm
Hmm.
like, well, what could have been, right? But yes, based on everything that is, I definitely can't justify him at all either. And I still think, yeah, like you do, that there's more fuck ups and positives for sure. But at the same time, I think that he's like one of the best written villains like
Hmm.
ever, in
Hmm.
my opinion. I think he might be actually my favorite villain ever, just because of how complex he is and how I love to hate him, hate to love him kind of a relationship I have with him.
Totally. Yeah, as a character, he's just so interesting and there's so much depth that you can like go into
Yes.
and think and have all of those different perspectives. But yeah, I don't personally need to like believe that a character is a wonderful person for me to love that character as a character. So
Of course.
yeah, so this is just the perspective.
Same.
And yeah, and I love that. And I love reading about those morally fucked up characters that do things that I would never approve of, in real life. And I would just not, ever think of even thinking like that, right? But in fiction, it's interesting to explore those sort of ideas and themes and get into like those mindsets. So from that perspective, I think that he is super well written, but that doesn't mean that yeah, I need to necessarily think that he did nothing wrong. That's just really cool about this book.
Exactly. Okay, let's skip to Rain. Like this time, we got his perspective as well, which
Hmm.
was super cool, in my opinion. I really like the fact that it wasn't just Oraya all the time. I
Yeah.
think that if it was just Oraya, it wouldn't be as good. Rain and Oraya, they were now married, but at the same time, he had to especially pretend that he doesn't like her, that he's basically just torturing her in a
Hmm.
sense for the nobles, right? So that was kind of interesting to read because in his head, we could see how he's pretending, but Oraya, since she was so hurt and betrayed, she still kind of wasn't sure what was going on, if he would ever really let her go, if
Hmm.
he was going to kill her or not. I think a part of her was also lying to herself because she was aware that he cares for her, but at the same time, she's just like, what do I know, right?
Totally. I mean, there were moments in the beginning of this book where I was just like rolling my eyes. I was just like, we all know that you two are on the same side at the end of the day. Like, I know how this will end. So it's not that interesting to me to see all of those conflicts. There's some moments like, when Oraya planned this attack with Jasmine at the beginning and Oraya and Rain were like fighting each other and then they had like daggers to each other's throats, but then they couldn't actually go through with it. And it was like, that's sexy. I love that. So it
Yeah,
it
yeah,
led to like this good tension, those like enemies that secretly love each other tension that
exactly.
at
Yeah.
a few moments she pulled this off so well, but I don't love that this whole enemies thing was, in my perspective, based on miscommunication that was sort of flimsy and just could have been resolved even like earlier in book one. I mean, I don't think I explained myself well in the previous episode, so I would try my best to do it right now if you excuse me. But what I sort of feel about the finale of book one is it just, I just feel like both characters acted like complete idiots, and I am annoyed at the fact that they acted like complete idiots. I mean, I don't know. I genuinely thought that we were supposed to already know what Rain's motivations are before he went into the last trial, because he straight up said that he feels responsibility for the Rishan people. He feels responsibility to save them, and that's why he signed up for the Kajari. So Oraya knew this going in, and she knew that he hates Vincent and that Vincent is not doing anything good for humans or anything good for the Rashant people. That was all the info we've already had. The only thing we didn't have is that it was actually like the past king that Rain was enslaved by, but other than that, he like revealed everything. So I already figured it out, and not in a way that I was like, oh, I figured out a plot twist. I was like, okay, obviously this is the information that we just have now. So yes, when Oraya gave up her win to save Rain, I was fully thinking she's taking Rain's side. She like looked at Vincent in the eye the way that she looks at her victims before she kills them, as Vincent taught her, and thought, I'm more human than he thinks, and I'm looking him in the eye and I'm choosing Rain to be the winner. I shit you not, I completely interpreted this moment as Oraya wants Rain to be the king. She's choosing him over Vincent, and I guess if Rain attacks Vincent right now, she'll be cool with it. And that makes Oraya like a pretty cruel, fucked up person. True. But I truly thought that this is the direction we're taking her in. And that would be, yeah, like quite fucked up that she would be just like fine with her not dying. But for this moment, I actually thought that, well, I guess that's where we're going with this character. Okay. So that's why I was so confused when she was betrayed and shocked by what Rain was doing. Because I totally thought that she understands what she has just done. And now that I understand that she didn't understand, I'm like, so what the fuck were you actually thinking then? I don't get what she was actually thinking. It just seems like a dumbass decision. And I'm not letting Rain off the hook fucking either, because he, before they even went to do the trial, they had this conversation where Rain said to her, "You're not what Vincent made you. You have every reason to keep going." And then after the trial, he told her that he believed if you won, you would seize power in your own way. I believe that you would use it to accomplish all the same things I wanted to do and probably do it better anyway. And you wouldn't have to sell your kingdom to animals to do it. Oh my gosh. So he believed that she is totally on his side, that she would want to make this kingdom better, and that she would not use her wish to become Vincent's Pyrobatai or whatever anymore. So he had all of this information, and instead of being like, okay, we're on the same page, so maybe let's talk it out, maybe come up with a plan how we can both rule that kingdom that we have the same vision for, he was like, okay, I guess I'll just die. Like everything I worked for, all the people I killed in this competition, whatever. It's fucking easier to die than take that responsibility and deal with this bloodborne deal that I did. Like, no, it's easier if I just like fucking traumatize Oraya by making her kill her love, essentially, and let her deal with the consequences, which I enjoyed later in this book when Oraya called him out on it, because he thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was being noble and good, but actually, yeah, he traumatized her and then had the goal to like be like, yeah, well, you saved me, so what else was I supposed to do? Like, yeah, I would kill your dad then, as if she's to blame, but no, it's you. You acted like an idiot by not thinking of a plan and instead going, well, I guess I'll die. So that's something that frustrated me going into book two, because I was like, if you just thought through the last trial, we wouldn't be in this position. You could have been working together. I would have enjoyed reading so much about you two fooling the entire court and all of those people by acting like you're this, bride that doesn't want to be here and this bloodthirsty king. But like you came up with this plan later. There's nothing that was stopping you from coming up with this before and actually being on the same page and then like having all this theatrics of fooling everybody else. And yeah, it's like I get that she wanted that enemies to lovers tension, but because it was built in such a way that I came up with a better plot in my head that could have resolved the whole thing, I'm not as entertained. And I don't know, I kind of feel like Lilith, maybe there's something about human communication I just don't fucking get. And the way I'm thinking right now is not actually logical. Maybe that's it. Maybe the way they're acting is actually like good. But ah, I think I let out all of my frustration now. I'm sorry for this monologue that took me 3 million years to say, but yeah.
It's fine. I feel like I won't be able to respond to everything because you made so many good points. I don't know. I didn't go into this as deeply as you did. So I didn't like think about that at all. I didn't think about the plot holes and how much, more intelligently this could have been written. But in regards to like Oraya, you said like she should have known what he was going to do when she looked at Vincent. She knew what she was doing. She was taking blah 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 his side.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think you're thinking a bit more rationally about this than I did. I was more like emotionally in it, and I could feel like her emotions, like
Mhm.
she basically killed the man that she loved. I doubt that in that moment she was like thinking of everything he told her before. She was just thinking that she wants him to be alive,
Yes.
and like the way when she looked at Vincent and was like, I have to look him in the eye when I'm killing someone, whatever. I again didn't interpret that as okay, she's gonna take his side. She knows that he's gonna die or whatever. It was just more like she is aware that she's betraying
Mhm.
him by not asking for the wish that she was supposed to ask for. Like that's it. And yeah, of course, rationally, if she was there completely with her mind completely present, she would have thought, okay, Vincent is probably going to die because like right now you're saving Rain and his intention is to help the Roshan people. But like in that moment she's not thinking like that. She's just being emotional,
Mhm.
like the man that she loves is dead. right? So that was my, thing. So I think she wasn't completely like grasping it. She was like just like in the
Yeah.
moment. And I don't know, when you're like grieving something so awful, you're not really completely fully present there. So I can't really blame her for not thinking straight and not being logical about
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, I just misunderstood Araya's characterization in that moment, and that's completely on me, actually, if we think about it that way. So yeah, yeah, more mad at Rain, kind of.
Yeah. And in regards to Rain, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I mean, he could have definitely like just talked, but that's like the thing, this is like miscommunication. Like, it's a way to drive plot in a way, right? Which is not a good thing sometimes. And in this case, it probably wasn't a good thing. But I don't know. At the same time, maybe, Rain, he just wanted to die, essentially. Rain never wanted this burden. Like, when he realized that he was the heir,
Mhm,
when he got the mark,
mhm.
he scratched it off or whatever, so that no one would
Yeah,
know. He didn't want this burden. He didn't want this responsibility. So I think he kind of just took the coward's way out. Not that he's not smart enough to know that maybe he could like talk it out with Oraya, but just more like, thankfully, I don't have to deal with this. Oraya, she's born a princess. She's born to do this. I'm just like a regular man who, was dealt the bad card, right? And now I can just die and let her be, which is, again, very cowardly, but that would like explain it, right? If I'm being the devil's advocate.
I think you got it completely. I think you hit the nail on the head. The way that he was thinking about it. Yeah, I am interpreting it as him kind of being a coward too. And true, it does make sense, but that means that as a character, I kind of don't love that he is a coward. I would have loved him more if he was convinced of something. So yeah, he kind of went into this competition because he was running for so long, and he was like, no, I guess, yeah, like I have this responsibility. But then at the last moment, he was like, no, fuck it, I don't actually want it. Right?
But like, honestly, he was even pushed into that
Hmm.
responsibility by Misha. He
Hmm.
never wanted to do it at all. He literally went there just to help his friend because he didn't want her to die. And I don't know, I feel like after like reading the first book and like coming to this conclusion the way you just did, I would agree with you. Like, that's not a good look on Rain, that he's basically a coward. But after reading the second book and knowing everything that he went
Yeah.
through, how tortured he was raped, he went through some serious trauma, like some would argue maybe I mean, I think worse than Oraya, actually. And now he was put in a position where he was supposed to be the man who did all of those things to him. He was supposed to act like the man who
Yeah.
was that to him. And being in his head and like seeing how he was comparing himself to this Neculi person, this king, and he was aware that he is actually being him right now, and he felt disgusted with
Yes.
himself. That's like such a mental strain to put on someone. Like, I don't know, after reading all of that and like seeing his memories,
Hmm.
and that he was also in love with this woman that he had to essentially leave behind, I don't know, everything that he went through, I understand that he just wanted to let it go and just die. I don't know, that's just, I mean, I feel like he was strong enough to just continue like living on after everything that happened after it. Like, a lot of people I think would have ended it a lot sooner.
Fuck. No, yeah, the way you describe it, yeah, I understand that totally. From this point of view, yeah, it makes sense why he was the way that he was. I mean, yeah, I would have just, as a reader, I would have enjoyed maybe their dynamic a bit better if they were working together a bit sooner. Because in my head, it was so obvious that they want the same thing, and I just wanted that to start. But definitely, like with the kind of characterization you have of Rain, that like all makes sense to me now. So yeah, it's
Hey,
cool.
I'm glad that I explained it well
Hmm.
enough. I'm really happy about that. Yeah, so the tension was good. So I appreciated that aspect. And also, like the beginning, of course, Araya was aware that he kind of cares for her, but she was also betrayed. So the beginning, I understood. I mean, he killed her dad, like
Yeah.
even, like I wouldn't be able to get past that either. But then, like on page 400 or something, when they were like already working together and shit, and she didn't give him anything. Like he would tell her, I will miss you, or he would tell her something nice, and she wouldn't say anything back. So at that point, I was getting already annoyed. I was just like, can you just show him at least a little bit of appreciation? I mean, you already know, like, about your dad. What was he like?
Hmm.
How he killed babies and shit. Like, can we
Hmm.
just, not like pretend that that's not the case or something. I don't know. So at that point, I was annoyed. But at the beginning, I was like, yeah, fine. And I also just liked the fact that we had this enemy tension again, just like we did in book one.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you said that because I agree with you. There were moments, yeah, where Rain was sort of explaining his actions to Oraya, like justifying what he's doing, what he's thinking, telling her that, he wants Hiyash people to also, I don't know how equal rights here, so just telling her all of his intentions. And Oraya was like, and the worst part is, I believe him. I believe that what he's saying is true, right? So we had like
Hmm.
multiple examples of Araya fully believing that his intentions are good and in line with what she wants for the kingdom, also, you know? And then, like a few paragraphs later, she would be like, no, I'm not trusting him. No, I'm not, what you said. So I don't know, maybe we could have just like gone without those paragraphs telling us that Araya fully believes him, because then it's confusing.
But like I said, like at the beginning, I did
Mhm.
kind of get that
Mhm.
just because it makes sense, that she knows Rain, she got to know him. And she also is aware that he basically sacrificed himself so that she could be the one to rule. So he didn't have to kill her dad.
Mhm.
But then when she brought him back to life, she knew she kind of forced his hand.
Mhm.
But still, it happened the way it did. He still killed him. And I understood like her going back and forth.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, more along when we progressed through the book, that's when I was getting like a bit tired of it because as time passed by, like, let's move along, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I don't think she should have like forgiven him immediately for everything that he personally has done to her. But, she like organized this attack with Jasmine, and she was like on the Hiyash side. But like, I know that just a few paragraphs before that, she like understood that Rain doesn't want to do anything bad to Hiyash. So, like,
Yeah.
personally, no, don't forgive him. Like, take all the time you need. Even if you don't forgive him for fucking killing your dad, that's understandable. But, if you are this heir, a ruler, a queen, and you want the best for your people, for everyone in this kingdom, and you believe that that's also what he wants to do. I mean, I hate to say it, but like as a ruler, you have to be logical about those things and not
Yeah,
cause
that's true.
more drama. Like, personally, fucking hate him and never forgive him. But if you have this mark and you want to be that leader, then pick the option that leads to like the least death and shit, right? I don't know. That's how I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I guess that was also kind of the point though that Oraya throughout this book she was becoming the ruler that she
Hmm.
was supposed to be because just like Rain she was also just thrown into this position and we can't also forget that she's just 24 years old,
Yeah.
so like Rain he's what hundreds of years old so he has that experience, I
Hmm.
guess, that mentality a little bit more developed than she does. So I guess that was also part of her journey to just grow into this queen that she was supposed to be, right? But yeah, essentially, I agree with you. And now I want to actually kind of skip to the part where Rain got betrayed, essentially. There was the ball,
Hmm.
right, that he threw. It was basically in honor of Vale and Lilith of their wedding. That was kind of funny. And yeah, by the way, there was this beautiful scene at the ball where they were dancing.
Hmm.
And I really love those kinds of scenes where, it's just so romantic. And like, it reminds me of that period setting when,
Yeah.
in once upon a time, when if they were courting, they weren't even supposed to touch. So the only time that they could actually touch was while dancing,
Hmm.
right? So that was such a good tension scene. Okay, what did you think about this plot, I guess? Rain getting betrayed by Septimus and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kairis was the one to betray him.
Oh, who is that again? I forgot.
Exactly. Like a
Ah,
rebellion person member, part of his inner circle. Basically, yeah, like he just like didn't believe that Rain can actually pull it off and join all of
right,
those
right.
vampires and humans
Hmm.
together. So he was like, fuck that, I'm giving the kingdom to Simon. Just because I don't know, like some people, would rather stay with like what they know is bad, but it's still familiar, and that's less scary than trusting that someone could do like a completely new different thing. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's kind of his cowardice led him to betraying him to Simon. By the way, I would have loved to get a bit foreshadowing about Simon also. Like, he just showed up in this book and he's supposedly very scary and very bad, but maybe, in flashbacks in book one, we could have already like gotten his name or something. So yeah, Simon, he is a part of Nikolai's court, and he was there when he was doing all of those horrible, horrific shit to his turned subjects. So as we can see, Nina already forgot who he is. That's why I'm saying like a bit of breadcrumbs in book one would have been nicer, would have, made this more cohesive, and maybe we would have remembered it. But yeah, he was like the big bad guy in this book. Septimus was working with him to get this like scary goth teeth, get the kingdom, because Yaxia gave the mark to Rain, but just they didn't believe it because Rain is like a nobody to them. So that's why they betrayed him. And yeah, and basically Rain and Oraya, they like had to run and had to like hide in the city essentially to like not get killed.
Yeah. But it was like so good when Rain, he was captured,
Hmm.
and Arya, she was also kind of drugged, but because she was a vampire, she kind of battled the drugs faster, so she woke up
Hmm.
sooner. And it was really good when she got into that fight mode,
Hmm.
when she really embraced her abilities, and she was just like in such a state where she was just like, I'm gonna murder
Fuck
everyone
yeah.
until like I get him. And it was so good. That was, I think, the first time that she finally also just kind of embraced how much she loves him,
Hmm.
and that she doesn't care the fact that he's supposedly her enemy. She's just gonna save him no matter
Yeah.
what. And that was so good to read. I really like that sequence.
Hmm.
And I also like the fact that we got a little bit more of Misha's
Hmm.
backstory. She killed the dude that essentially turned her and that left her to die. And he was like this lord. So that's going to be a complication for sure. It's so good to see like Misha, because she's obviously such an interesting character too. She's always so cheery, and she's obviously very kind hearted. She sees the best in people.
Hmm.
But at the same time, she has a really dark side. She is such a tortured character,
Yeah.
and it's so obvious that she has so much trauma that she doesn't deal with. She basically just pretends it's not there, right?
Hmm.
She just pretends like everything's fine, and she's just not gonna think about it. She's not gonna address it. But then when she saw this guy, she just couldn't handle it anymore. She literally just
Hmm.
exploded and just murdered the guy. So that was so good, and I can't wait for her book. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, and it broke my heart that like she thought that Rain would be mad at her for ruining the
Oh my
fucking
gosh.
political situation. Like, bitch, like she truly would choose that over herself. Like she doesn't even think that her friend would probably care more about her well-being. Like, so
Yes.
that's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. I hope that she
So heartbreaking.
gets to, yeah, like we've just found out that we will get her book, the next one, and everything. So I would love to see her journey to actually have that confidence and grow. So that would be so great to see for Misha. And yeah, like that prick deserved it. Like I would have killed him before, in that moment. So I'm totally supporting what Misha did. So
Hmm.
yeah, and yeah, that scene with Oraya fucking murdering everyone was so good, was so cool. She really just like slayed I don't know how many people just to get to Rain. I really loved that.
Yeah.
And
Same.
oh, it's so good. And I also loved when they were with that crazy cousin lady, when Oriah was like pinned and she was the one to save herself essentially. I love that moment that it wasn't just Rain saving her all the time. She also saved herself, and she was also the one to save Rain. And I just like love to see that also, that she is that much of a fucking badass.
Exactly. She's not like this damsel in
Mhm.
distress. She can take care of herself.
Mhm.
But by the way, now that you've mentioned that part where she had to save herself, like with that crazy lady, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, honestly, that part of the book that was creepy
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
fuck. I mean, I imagine those kids somehow like, in the Twilight movie when they like turned kids and they were like also kind of really creepy vampires because they couldn't really
Yeah.
age and they stayed like children forever. And this was just so creepy to read. It was so awful, the fact that she basically just discovered her wings, and then like the next scene they were like pinned against the
Yeah.
wall like with nails and stuff. I mean, ow, let's talk about pain, right?
Oh, yeah, the way that it was described, like she was literally just like tearing them from those fucking nails. Ugh.
Oh, yes.
Like I could feel that. It just got
Same.
shivers all over me. Ew. I mean, good for her, but ew. Oh my gosh. Mhm.
Exactly. And like good for the author
Yeah.
because obviously she did a really good job at
Oh my
describing that.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, anyways, Rain and Oraya, like from the ball, they kind of managed to escape and hide in his apartment.
Mhm.
By the way, his apartment, like the first time he took her there, I really liked that scene because of the way it was described. Like Oraya said, how she could literally see the burden just kind of fall off of his
Mhm.
shoulders. He could just finally just breathe for a second and, stop pretending that he is this badass king. And also, it was really good for me to see like Araya's point of view whenever like she saw how he was pretending.
Yeah.
She saw right through him. She was the only one who could see that this was all just a facade, right?
Mhm.
I really appreciated that. So, anyways, yeah, in the apartment, they finally, reconciled in a way you could say, and they decided to go back to the castle like in the sewers and stuff,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
saved Vale and Lilith. And that was like all of that, everything that was going on. I have no negative comments about that. I think it was really well done. It was action packed. I was at the edge of my seat. It was really good.
Yeah, the only negative I have is the fact that they had all of those open fucking wounds and they went to swim in the poo poo.
Fui. Oh
Oh
my gosh, so
god.
gross.
Yeah, if the I was
Oh,
thinking like, yeah, if the bloodborne don't kill them, if salmon don't kill them, bitch, the fucking millions of infections that they just got will kill them. Oh my gosh, that was disgusting. I mean,
that was disgusting, but also fun to read for me for
yeah.
some reason. I was just like, that's so gross and so fun.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have another choice, so, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're at least vampires, so
Yeah,
I guess they can heal faster.
true, true. Like, they got so many injuries when Oraya was saving him from that balcony, but then they just, like, spent that one night in his apartment, and then they were good to, like, fight and to, like, fly for weeks at a time. So, I don't know, that was a bit, like, plot thing, you know?
I mean,
Mhm,
a lot of the things about this were plot, like
mhm.
also the fact that Oraya basically she got her wings and all of a sudden she was just able to
Oh my
fly.
gosh, yeah.
Like she didn't even spend any time training and like wings, like if you grow wings out of your back, I can imagine that can be a bit of an imbalance thing.
Ooh,
Like how can you
mhm.
even stand? And you have to have like really strong muscle. I mean, here I am talking like I know how it is to have wings. People, don't worry, I'm not an angel
What
or
are
a
you not
vampire.
telling
Yeah,
us,
maybe I
Nina?
am. Yeah, exactly. What if I
Exposing
am?
yourself
You
here.
never know. Because yeah, I mean it's super heavy. Like it's not
Yeah,
that easy. You have to train, you have to work out and
thank you
yeah, that was a bit
for sharing that.
but at the same time again, yeah, you're welcome. But at the same time, I don't know. I am maybe kind of thankful also that we didn't have to spend time with her like training in that way because I really wanted the plot to move along.
Mhm,
I wanted things to be happening. So sometimes I appreciate those inconsistencies just because I want to see what happens next. But of course, it's like not realistic.
mhm. Yeah, there were parts, a couple where Oraya, like, said, like, "Yeah, Misha's training me with combat, and some other person is training me with magic, blah, 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 let's move on." And, I mean, yeah, the thing is, you kind of forget that this even happened. So when Orion is suddenly way better at using magic, you're like, okay, so when did that happen? Oh yeah, no, we did have like that one sentence that she like did something. And
Yeah.
yeah, in an ideal world, I would love to get those sequences of her training and yet not be bored by them and not feel like the plot is stalling. And I mean, bitch, I'm not a writer, but it's probably super hard to have this balance of letting the readers know everything that they need to know, but also not let the plot like drag on, but also keep it interesting, but also not have plot holes. And I mean, in this podcast, we really like sit down and dissect everything for hours and hours. So if I was just like reading it in like a day and just sort of paying attention to how hot those characters are and how like in love they are, I would not be giving a shit. But since we're dissecting everything, I'm like, but how did she heal so fast? Right? So I kind of
Yeah.
appreciate when the books give me those answers or sort of anticipate that you would have those questions and give them to me. But it's still a very enjoyable book, I would say. So if you don't go into those depths, then you will love it and you don't need to, essentially.
Yep, yep.
Hmm.
I agree. Okay, yes. So then after they save everyone, they basically fly to Jasmine and the rest of the Hiaj who are
Hmm.
in hiding, and they concoct a plan there. Also, another thing that I was just thinking, they went there and they had like this meeting, and they had the meeting before they went to bathe, right? And I was just like, can you just like lead them to a bath or something so they can take the shit off of them, literally? And
Oh my
then you can come
god.
back and talk about it, okay? And discuss your future,
All of those
okay?
infections are just getting more time to settle in to like attack them. Come on. Let them
Oh
clean
my god.
themselves first. Jesus. Yeah.
That was shitty, quite
Yep.
literally. Oh my
Ah,
gosh. Yeah, okay. So the battle happened. They went to battle, but they were like not expecting the Rishan to be as prepared as they were. And also Simon, he was like turned into this
yeah.
creepy ass warrior that was really difficult to defeat.
Mhm.
So that was insane, and they didn't see that coming at all.
Mhm. Yeah, that was she found this little necklace or something, and Septimus basically created this like fucked up thing that it wasn't supposed to be used that way. Yeah, and then Simon was like scary as fuck.
By the way, I really like Septimus as a character. I'm expecting that we'll get a lot more of him in like the next books,
Mhm.
hopefully. So after that, Oraya was kind of injured, and Rain took her to her aunt.
Mhm.
He kind of just gambled there. He hoped that he would find someone, and he did. And that was a nice, cute moment. The fact that Oraya finally got to meet one of her remaining
Yes.
relatives. I mean, I appreciated that a lot. She basically wanted that her entire life. That was the goal, essentially. She would become
Mhm.
Vincent's equal, and then she would be finally able to go to that village and find them, right? So she finally got to meet them, and it was cute.
Yeah, I'm glad that her family actually survived and was, living in a different place than the one that got attacked, and she now has that connection. Yeah, it was so heartbreaking to find out that she had people who truly loved her. It wasn't like
Yeah.
what we thought in book one that maybe Vincent saved her from maybe a really bad situation. But no, now we know that she had even like a father figure and all this family. And I
Yeah.
was like, damn. And I'm sad. Yeah.
That was yeah, it was super sad.
Hmm.
But yeah, thankfully she did meet them, at least that, and Rain and her, they went back to find the missing piece that they needed to the caves and stuff. That's where, she saw Vincent and she had like a discussion with his spirit. She found out about her mom and him too. She saw like visions of them together, which was so cute to
Hmm.
me, honestly. I could like see that as a movie and I loved it. I love like even in movies and TV shows, I really love flashbacks,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to love stories that happened so many years ago. I find that to be so romantic, even if it was fucked up in this case, but still romantic in a way.
Hmm.
And yeah, so she basically she gets what she needed to get.
Hmm.
But that thing that she got, like I don't remember what's it called. I'm sorry, but it didn't really matter that
Literally
much, did it?
blood of the god, basically Nyaxia's husband, her lover. And yeah, like what happened is that they thought that this thing would like make Oraya super powerful, or like Simon and Septimus wanted it to become super powerful. But then she did get it, but Rain was super, super injured in his fight with Simon. So essentially she gambled it sort of to Nyaxia. I sort of thought that maybe she would just like let Rain have it and that would maybe heal his injuries or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, what happened is that she was like, Yaxia, loved this guy, so she would probably love to have at least, something from him. So I would just like call upon the god to save Rain's life again, as it happened in the ending of the previous book. Let's repeat that. So yeah, we got Yaxia basically saving Rain and giving them the fucking bond, the parapet, I think. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh, yes, I forgot about that a little bit. Yeah, that was all of that was really dramatic, but
Mhm.
yeah, basically the blood thing wasn't as important. That's what I remember. Even if I didn't remember the details, I just remember that and I was like annoyed at that a bit. It's
Mhm.
like, what was the point? But still, I don't regret the journey just
Mhm.
because we got to see Vincent again and her conversation and everything that led to it, you know? So fine, okay, whatever.
Yeah, the Vincent storyline was my favorite part of the book, Oraya coming to terms with all the contradictory emotions that she has. I think that this is the best
Exactly.
thing that was done really well. And actually, you know what I was surprised by? When we got Nyaxia to come to Earth and like grant her this wish. Actually, it was a different goddess, the one that her mom worshipped, that later came and gave her this bond because Nyaxia was basically like, fuck you. I was actually so surprised by that because I thought that the plot twist would be that Nyaxia actually wanted Rishan and Hiyash to work together at some point and to join at some point. Because otherwise, why would she give those two idiots the fucking marks if she knows that they're in love and shit? I thought that it would really be like, those people have been fighting for centuries, but actually love will save us all in the end. But no, she actually enjoyed the fighting. Like those people were fighting before she was even here, and she was like living for the drama, and now she's annoyed that she won't have that anymore. So I was totally
Yeah.
shocked by that. I mean, it's interesting. So yeah, my prediction completely didn't come true.
I really like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
that she's just a drama queen who loves drama for the sake of drama.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of hilarious. I didn't expect her to want them to work together. I did kind of think that she's just like a bitch and she just literally wants them to hate each other.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I mean, in the Axio, she is intriguing in a way. And they mentioned that she will come back. Like, she obviously will
Hmm.
take her revenge upon them. So, yeah, that's gonna happen. I think that I had something else to mention. Right, in regards to Vincent, it was also really interesting, when Araya, like when she was in the castle and she was sneaking around, she also found a chamber
Hmm.
that she didn't know about, and she found that like mirror thingy in there so that she could later on use it to communicate with Jasmine and stuff.
Hmm.
So that was pretty cool too. And I think that Rain found something that he gave then to her, some letters of Vincent.
Yeah, I think a painting of her mom, and there could have been others
No,
too. Yeah, true.
that
Yeah.
was cute.
Hmm.
I like that. And the fact that he found that for her
Hmm.
and he took the time and stuff. Oh,
Hmm.
so adorable. Rain and Oraya, they're really cute.
Yeah, yeah, he basically just wanted her to have all of those things, have money, have like supplies, and to just like let her go and do her own thing. That's like,
Exactly.
hmm,
That was so amazing when she realized that even if she didn't, do what he told her
hmm,
to do, he would still let her go. That was his plan all along.
hmm,
And there was like this quote about, she asked him, "Wait, you're just letting me go," something like that. And he said, "It's because I love you is why I'm letting you go."
yeah,
You know, that was so cute because that's exactly like when you love someone, you have to be selfless. And if
hmm,
letting them go is essentially what saves them, you're going to do that, right?
hmm,
It's not about keeping them by your side and no matter
hmm,
what. Like, no. So that was really beautiful. And, just the whole concept is beautiful of him being in romantic to me, of him being Rishan, of her being Hiaj, and like them all the time being at war. But just like coming together is what will save them. And that's exactly what they did. And it was so good to see them working side by side and
hmm.
a better future awaits them. And it's beautiful.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, we'll see what Nyaxia has in store for them because she's not happy with them
True.
with that.
True. I mean, hopefully, when we get Misha's book, we'll
Hmm.
get, some glimpses of them too. She'll probably like at least write letters to them. Maybe
Hmm.
she'll like visit them once. That would be cool to see how they're doing. But yeah, we basically came to the conclusion of this book. It was a good read. It was fun. Both of these books, like the novella, including the novella.
Hmm.
And we also just like recently, just the other day, we saw that the writer, Carissa, she announced the third book,
Hmm.
so can't wait for it. Yeah, we decided to discuss this and read it at the right time, I think.
Yeah, it was destiny, it was fate. And when the next book comes out, we'll probably have an episode on it too.
Yay.
And yeah, I think that the novella is my favorite part of this series so far. I just think it was done super, super well. And just seeing what, Broadbent can do, how well she can write, how well she can construct a story is so great, and is also the reason why I'm maybe criticizing the main two books more, because I can see that she can do better, and I would love to see her do even better in the Misha story and in everything that's coming next. I would love that.
Yes, for me, it's hard to say which one is my favorite
Mhm.
because I read it a while ago, but maybe the novella too.
Mhm.
And I like the novella because it's such a standalone thing. So I'll definitely like reread it
Yeah.
probably soon, just because I want to see those characters again, and why not, right? Their love story is really pretty too.
Totally. I enjoyed it a lot. And also, sorry, viewers, for me being a bit more of a nitpicker in this episode. I mean, it's just because I'm passionate and I want to get into everything. And I'm definitely not meaning to like go into any sort of attack. I really, really hope that the next books I will love even more, and that it doesn't take away from everything that I do love about these books, like all my criticism. That's not what I want to do. Because it definitely is a fun read, and there's definitely a lot that I thought was good and I enjoyed about it.
No, yeah, I'm happy that we don't agree about everything. Sometimes when I listen to certain book podcasts and when the hosts they agree about everything, it can get a bit boring. So I think that as a listener, I would actually appreciate hosts disagreeing sometimes and also like hearing a different perspective. I think that's more cool to listen to, right?
Awesome, totally. Yeah, I hope that whether someone absolutely loved this book or was a bit more critical of this book, they find something in this episode that they can relate to or maybe hear a new perspective.
Exactly.
So please let us know your thoughts. We would love to hear it. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? It's so cool to hear all of that. That's why we do this. So yeah, we'll see you on the Instagram or on the Spotify whenever you can reach us anywhere basically.
And don't forget to tune in next week because we'll be talking about Akotar theories. The last time we discussed these theories, you guys really enjoyed the episode,
Mm-hmm.
so we can't wait to record that one too. And I can't wait like this week to just kind of, brainstorm a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about the theories, what I want to say and stuff.
Yes, so if you miss the Akatar content, don't worry, it's coming. And then after that, we'll probably be discussing TV shows again. And for any further updates, just look at our social media. I'm sure we will come up with a plan. Like right now, we're not totally sure what we're doing next. So just follow us to have all of those updates. And I hope that we see you next week.
Yes, and don't forget to rate us 5 stars, please. We need it. And thanks for listening again. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.